Hello there, and welcome to this video where we're going to be talking about something that some people may find controversial, not sure, but it's about AAU sports and how the AAU has impacted sports participation. We're going to be delving into that in this video, so stay tuned for that. All right, this topic, there's several things we definitely want to be covering here. And one is AAU programming can have life-changing opportunities for some. This whole pay-to-play model can leave some people behind. We also want to be looking at its impact on local communities and the leagues and kind of broader picture there. And the tendency, or is there a tendency for specializing too early and overuse and what all that means? We'll be covering those things and more in this video. So unquestionably, AAU sports offer opportunities for some that they wouldn't get. And the idea here with AAU sports is getting nationally known and competition outside of your local region and area. And having that opportunity can take people from particularly more rural uh, areas that might not be thought of usually as hotbeds for a particular sport and give them that visibility that's so crucially important. And there's a number, so I'm from Maine, there's a number of cases where I can say that that absolutely has helped some kids. There are some players right now at Vanderbilt University baseball. There's one in the minor leagues who went to Vanderbilt. There was a kid who played Babe Ruth baseball with my son, who went to the World Series, who was one of the greatest athletes I've seen, who had, after his 14-year-old All-Star year, was getting an opportunity to play nationally on some of the top baseball teams in the country. He got a chance to actually, he was drafted second round, signed for like 1.5 million. That opportunity, I don't know whether it's there outside of AAU travel baseball. And you can even think of Cooper Flagg, who was just taken, #1 overall draft pick out of Maine. He launched onto national recognition by a travel program, AAU program, eighth grade year. And then after his high school year, it's like that's where he like, whoa, this kid's the real deal, right? AAU kind of sponsored program. So it has life-changing impact for some. And, and you can't take that away from AAU programs. So one of the kind of challenges with this model, this pay-to-play model, is these travel teams, these programs can be expensive. And there's some kids on that lower income spectrum who might never even consider that opportunity, right? They might not even look at it, and they miss out on that potential development. And there are a couple examples that I just gave in the last one who are at Vanderbilt University now through because of travel baseball. But when they were first starting out in high school ball, they were good. But that development during those high school years and the travel programs that came with it, they went up another whole level, right? If they had been in one of these situations where, man, I don't think we can really afford it, not even ask their parents maybe, then they get left behind, right? Remember to kind of, it's not a perfect parallel, but certain, after I graduated college, there was a football player who came to the University of Maine who became a star running back. I mean, he was really good for Maine. And he didn't even play high school football because he wasn't good enough. He was kind of on the small side. And he went to a big high school that had, big football and some really top athletes. So he didn't get seen. He got noticed in track and field. That's where he got noticed. And they found out that he had played football, but he didn't really play. So they brought him up because he got noticed that way. So kids like that, from an AAU standpoint, if you aren't sure whether you can make it on a team, or maybe you don't get selected to be on a team at a young age, therefore you don't try again, you get left behind, even though then you may develop, you may begin to grow, you may begin to get a little bit bigger, stronger, faster, and could compete, but you've already begun to lose interest because the teams stay together. They often tend to stay together. So there's that negative drawback or aspect to AAU, or the pay to play model. Personally, I think one of the biggest negative impacts of these AAU travel teams have had are on local sports, particularly at a young age. So you're getting parents who are spending thousands of dollars for 8, 9, 10-year-olds to do travel sports, travel soccer, travel basketball, travel baseball, travel hockey. Doesn't matter what the sport is. And when those kids are now doing that, they very often aren't doing a local league. And that's really hurts the local league. The local leagues need these good players to play in those leagues in order to attract other people and keep other people. People like being around good players, right? It's one of the fun aspects of being in these leagues is seeing some of these good players and playing with them, being on the team with them. And when they aren't doing that, these local leagues suffer. Things like Little League are some of the lowest participation rates in its history. This has a serious detrimental impact, and it filters all the way up. American Legion here in Maine has been decimated by these travel teams, and it's so unnecessary. And having experienced it as a parent as well, like for example, my oldest, I first got him on a travel team 8th grade year, and after that experience, like, what a waste, right? Total waste. And this was at a time when I'd been working to help build and rebuild the Babe Ruth program, right? Taking it from 3 local teams. By combining with other towns, we got it up to 12 teams. So it was a pretty vibrant league going. So really, it's a good all-star team, good competition. Babe Ruth baseball's 13 to 15, right? Well, by the time my youngest is going through it, and he did travel baseball his junior year in high school, right? That summer. And even then, questioned whether it was worth the money for what you get, what's being promised, and the exposure. So parents need to kind of really look at it carefully, but the detriment for the local leagues, at especially young kids before middle school and even through middle school, has decimated some of these, and that's not, in my view, personal opinion, that is not a good thing. It's not good for the kids. It's not good for the community. It's not good for the sport development. It's not good on any level, right? These elite travel teams at young ages are a bad thing. All right, so this brings us to our next point, and that has to do with early specialization, because what begins to happen is this message of trying to keep up with the Joneses in the sport. So that, for example, a high school coach might not say, "Oh, you have to go play, in this summer league, this AAU travel league, whatever." But he might say, as he's running some basketball camp for the middle school students, that there is this opportunity, and I'll tell you, a whole lot of my starters all did this program, so it's a really good program. The subtle message there is that, oh boy, if I don't do that program, I might not make the team, because the guys who do that program end up being on starting varsity, right? So that pressure to begin specializing at younger ages happens. And the research that's coming out is that the earlier you specialize, the greater the chance of suffering burnout and wanting to pull out of sports completely. You begin to get more pressure, and also you aren't really necessarily developing the overall athleticism that's really beneficial. I've talked to countless college coaches who all would love to see multi-sport athletes come play, their sport now, be it baseball, hockey, whatever it is, but the kids they're getting aren't multi-sport athletes. They've started specializing really early, and there's some serious challenges to that on many levels. I want to conclude this with a heartfelt message to all you parents out there, and even some of you who are out there pushing these pay-to-play kind of programs for young kids. And these travel teams, like travel from town to town, I don't necessarily mind too much when it's local, right? Short kind of trips, playing for your town team. That's a little bit different than what we're talking about with these travel leagues that are much regionally and even nationally bound. And when you're talking under the age of 12, don't do it. That's my recommendation. Don't do it. Let's bring some balance back. Focus on developing good youth programs and maybe bringing in some outside coaches for some clinics and camps and things to really help develop some of the skills and the passion and the interest. But don't do it. College coaches aren't looking at your 10, 9, 11-year-old, 12-year-old. And not going to say that they aren't getting better by playing against better competition, but you really want to be considering how much they are playing and practicing. You'd be much better served at practicing better and learning how to deep practice than you are by travel baseball, hockey, soccer, whatever it might be. So my recommendation, that young, don't do it. Stay away from it. Well, that just wrapped up another video. And obviously, I think it's obvious that I'm pretty passionate about that particular subject, especially for young kids. Anyways, I'd love if you subscribe to my channel, check out other videos, and particularly you might be interested in the video, how do youth sports help communities? So check that out today and come back and watch another.